Grow hackers to the DoorGrow show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing in business and life, and you're open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow hacker. DoorGrow hackers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high stress gateway to real skill, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management business owners and their businesses. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. I'm your host, property management growth expert, Jason Hull, the founder and CEO of DoorGrow. Now, let's get into the show. So today, I'm hanging out with Tommy Chambers. Tommy, welcome to the DoorGrow show. Oh, I got to mute you. All right. Tommy, welcome to the DoorGrow show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, glad to have you. So you've been doing property management for how long?
21 years now.
21 years now. And how long ago did you start Chambers? Your business is Chambers Theory Management?
Yeah, we started Chambers Theory in 2018. This was on the heels of my former company selling to a bigger broker, and saw the opportunity to start fresh and bring my theory to the market of what property management should and could look like.
Cool. Well, welcome to the show. So you guys reached out and wanted to be on the show. I guess you had been listening to the podcast for a while. We've never worked together, right? So
not yet.
Never been explained. Not yet. Right. So cool. I'd love to hear. And how many doors do you guys have right now?
717.
All right. That's a nice number. 2018. So what's been your strategy to add doors? How have you grown the business so far?
There's a lot of different ways we've approached that. There's a growth strategy just from organic growth. All of those doors have been organic growth. There's, of course, we look at acquisitions as well. And then there's also the client retention. It's not just about growth. It's also about keeping the ones you have and the clients you have satisfied. So our strategy has been to take care of our people, use and try new tech, be early adapters with some new tech. And when we take care of our people and lean into some cool new products and leading edge technology, that the word gets out. And when we're effective and take care of our people, people like to follow that. Clients like to follow companies where they have consistency of the people they're dealing with, and especially if they're happy with their jobs, it really works out well.
Yeah, I love what you said about it not being at doors, which is totally true. One of the big things that a lot of businesses fail to look at is churn, and retention. And, your churn ratio or churn rate is basically the number of clients you had at the beginning of the month. And then you divide that by the number of clients you have at the end of the month, basically is how you calculate churn. And so if your churn rate is high, that means you then have to replace all the doors that you are getting on every single month. And if you are replacing, all the doors that you're losing every single month, if you're replacing every door that you're losing constantly, and you have stagnation. And a lot of business owners try to increase growth, increase lead gen, and they don't focus on churn at all or retention at all. And they wonder why they're not making any progress. And it's kind of like trying to run uphill while somebody's pulling you backwards. Or you're like running up the escalator. I'm up the escalator, but the escalator is going down and you're sitting in the same spot. So what are some things you've done to kind of decrease the churn rate and prevent clients from leaving? And one of the clients that tends to leave the most are like accidental investors. Do you avoid those, or are you good at convincing them to stay longer?
I love the analogy too. We actually use the analogy pushing a rope uphill is when you have a high churn rate. Just doesn't make a lot of sense, and that it takes a lot of energy to both reintroduce a new client to what your program's like and set expectations and agreements on that, but also to find them. So keeping the ones we have and keeping the ones we have happy is critical for us. And we actually have a natural high churn type of client base. A lot of our clients are military and U.S. Foreign Service, which means typically we know when they sign on with us, they're going to be back to their house in 3 years, which makes a really interesting, I'll call it calling or genre of residential property management. When you know your client's going to be back in 3 years, you have to plan for that replacement. And you also have this higher calling of care where, geez, this is not just somebody's investment property. This is their home they're going to come back to. And the judgment is often a lot more meticulous when they come back and say, how did you do taking care of my house, not just how much rent did you earn me? So some of the things we do are really to increase the level of care and communication the client feels during the period of time that we know we have them. And we call it building or losing trust equity in every interaction. So the way we describe trust equity is like having gas in your tank, and you're going on a trip. You're only going to go as far as you keep fueling up that gas in that tank. And for us, that gas in that tank with that client is trust equity. So in every interaction, we either see ourselves as building rapport, building trust equity, or losing it, or losing the opportunity to build it. So a lot of our practices are focused on how do we build up trust equity all the way through their journey, make it the full 3 years. And the positive side of the community that we're working with is, even though there's a high natural churn there's also a high referral rate from one landlord client to another to utilize our services if we've done a good job for them.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, refueling the tank or recharging the cell phone or, anything, like nothing just continually runs forever, right? And I love the idea of trust equity. I've said many times on the show, like I really believe sales and deals happen at the speed of trust. And, retaining clients also happens related to trust. Like you're going to keep clients if they trust you. And that trust is everything that you do in your business. Everything that your business puts out there is either creating trust or taking it away to some degree with your clients. So, one of the main things we focus on at DoorGrow with clients is taking all the major leaks that exist in their sales pipeline related to trust and helping shore up those leaks. And that's always the language we've used around that, is to try to make sure that we're reducing the leaks. And there's lots of things in the sales pipeline that can destroy trust. It could be the brand. It could be, maybe they're not destroying, but they're leaks in trust. Like they might trust a property management company over a real estate company when it comes to branding more. And so that could be a leak just at the branding stage. There's leaks when it comes to your sales process. There's leaks when it comes to your website. There's leaks when it comes to your pricing. And all of these different things that exist throughout their experience in the sales pipeline can either add value and add trust and build it, or it can take it away. And this is why when we talk about cold leads versus warm leads, or going from a cold interaction or a lead to close, the difference between cold and warm is trust, right? We're trying to nurture them through this sales process and through follow-up, and eventually they get warm enough, they trust enough that we can close the deal, right? And then decreasing churn, the trust cycle continues. You have to then onboard them effectively. You have to then make them feel safe, because everybody has buyer's remorse after they purchase something. There's an initial dopamine high when we make a purchase. And after that purchase, after we spend money, there is natural lull, like it comes back down. And that's where people kind of freak out and they look for the problem. And if they see one, they're like, oh crap, did I make the wrong choice? So making sure there's this smooth experience through the sales pipeline, and then bridging over into onboarding and into their client experience. If you onboard them well and they have a good experience, you're going to have a much higher retention rate. So now you've got people that are leaving most likely after about 3 years. So you've got like this 3-year cycle. How do you deal with that? Because every 3 years, you outpace that churn rate. And that's better than some that are taking on accidental investors that are only going to hang out for a year.
Yeah. So one of the ways we deal with it is, which I think is unique, is we said, hey, your services don't have to stop when you come back to live in your own home. We can still be your property manager, even if we're not collecting rent. You know, if you, often we were getting calls from clients that came back anyway saying, hey, you know, I was your client last year or 2 years ago. I need a recommendation on an HVAC company, or I needed a recommendation on a plumber for, you know, Thanksgiving before my family comes to visit, or whatever it is. And it was like, well, oftentimes we were getting these calls back from clients anyway saying, hey, I just need a contractor recommendation, or I'm going to be away from my house for 3 weeks on vacation. Can you just check on it once for me if there's a storm? And what we decided to do is, instead of treating it like a clumsy process, to make it a formal process and organize that thing that was happening anyway. And we said, hey, when you come back, you don't have to close out your account. And you can continue to use us for anything related to your house, and you can run your expenses through your, escrow operating account in property management. And we'd be happy to be part of that for you and give you contractors when you need them. And we made the expense for that minimum, and it's not a profitable activity, yet it kept the connection. And it also told these clients, hey, we can trust this company even when they're not merely making money from us, right? They're truly in it to serve us. And what happened is, when they got their next assignment, whether they're military or foreign service, they already had their account open with us. They didn't have to decide, oh, who do I want to interview, or who do I want to start with this time in property management. We made it easy for them to just keep going with us and recommend other people to start with us. So that's one of our nuances. And I welcome other property managers to do it too, is you don't stop serving them when they stop becoming a client, especially if they could become a client again or refer somebody else. Continue to offer them some kind of value, even after you think that they're done.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That makes a lot of sense in a military market. That makes a lot of sense. Do you find that it's more of a loss leader, or are you doing this at cost at least?
So I guess you could call it a loss leader if you try to start a business that way. I mean, once you have a certain scale, our scale of our business, right, is we keep close track of how many property management hours per property we're spending throughout the year. And, we have it down to a science exactly, how many doors to our staff, not just per a property management lead, but overall support staff, how many hours are dedicated to these properties. And what we find was keeping these accounts on wasn't costing us a lot of time, but it was giving us a really good return on trust equity. So we were building more trust equity when the client closed out their account, their normal rent collection account, and kept going with us in what we call a heat account or a home escrow account. And the home escrow account, we're charging $360 a year, $1 a day, less than that really. And oftentimes it was not profitable for us in terms of the hours we spend, but we'd spend 5 or 6 hours a year on those accounts, making recommendations, handling their expenses through their property account. So it wasn't like a money maker, but it really had a return in terms of these clients came back to us and they recommended other people to us because we were building trust in the process, not just cash.
So this 3-year cycle that you mentioned, where they will go off for maybe about 3 years and then they want to come back, move back into the property. How long do you know how long they're typically staying before they go off again?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on which government agency or department they work for. There's different requirements for each, which we've come to learn quite well. Sometimes they'll come back for, say they work for the U.S. State Department, they'll come back for 1-year language training. So they're coming back from Bangkok and they're going to be transferred to Nairobi, Kenya, 12 months from now. So they know they're coming back just to learn the language of the next place they're going, and all the more reason to just keep their account active, right?
Yeah.
Often
they're only back for a year and then they're probably out for maybe another 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it tends to be 1 or 2 year return, depending on the nature of their return assignment, and domestic assignment. And then another 3 years out tends to be.
Wow. Okay. So, so the ratio is skewed so that they're gone more than they're back. So by maintaining that relationship, you have built in future clients.
Nailed it. Yeah. Oh, and that maintaining the relationship is where the secret is. As we said, not doing that turns growth into pushing a rope uphill. If you maintain that relationship, it makes it really easy for that business relationship to continue and that trust equity to grow.
Yeah, it's far easier to keep a client than to go acquire new ones. It's far cheaper and it takes a lot less work. And if they have a good experience with you, they already know you, trust you, like you. So it's super easy. The next time they need it, they're going to go with you as long as they had a good experience. And if that relationship has been maintained, they're still a client. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's like, hey, we're going out again. Cool. So pre-framing that from the beginning, when you onboard a new client and letting them know, look, you're probably going to go in some cycles. We're used to this. This is how we handle it. This is what we do. They'll just plan staying with you forever.
I'll tell you, at first, it's an awkward value proposition, right? It's like, well, I'm back. Why do I need to keep a property manager? And the answer is you don't need to. Not nearly. You don't need us nearly as much as you did when you were on the other side of the world and we had a tenant.
Yeah.
However, again, this is why every connection and communication is an opportunity to build trust. Is when they start to see, oh, I'd much rather call my property manager and have them deal with the contractor, or call my property manager, see if they can check on this after a storm, or call my property manager, whatever it is. The more that they see there's value in the process, in the chain, then the more likely they are to say, wow, I actually wanted this. I didn't realize you guys even offered when I came back. I could just keep using you and at a lower price. So it's awkward at first because you're used to saying, well, these are the reasons we are worth property management, rent collection, and dealing with tenants. And you just have to change that and recognize that actually we're valuable for a lot of things that the clients trust us on, including, making it easy for them to manage their home escrow account or their expenses related to their property. Or we make it a lot easier for them to not call some contractor out of the yellow pages or Google somebody and get lucky. They already know that we have a tried and true stable of contractors. Yeah.
It's frustrating trying to find contractors and having to do the research and vet. So I think that's a great selling proposition. And property managers don't like giving out their vendors generally. Right. So if they're a client and you're like, hey, let us handle this. If they come back to you. So what do you do in the situations where they're like, nope, I don't need you and I don't want to do this. We're back. I got to handle it. But then they call you up and they're like, hey, who you got for me? You got a contractor that can do this or this? You say, well, we have this great program, and you try and get them on the program.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to reintroduce them to the program, and the reason why is because when you're out of the system, everything, it's that much harder to translate the information to what needs to happen, right? Like, okay,
Mm.
you have something that needs to be done, but we don't have all the information in our system and it's closed anymore. And also our contractors, they like to know that if they bill the property manager, they're going to get paid in 2 weeks. And we build
Right.
trust equity with the vendors too, not just the vendors and contractors too. It's not just the clients. So
Mm.
these contractors would rather get a call from us and say, okay, yeah, I'll be happy to do that job tomorrow or uh, Monday, whatever it is, because I know you're going to pay me in 2 weeks when I send you the invoice versus, I mean, like, oh, I've got to deal with some homeowner that's calling me. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know if they're going to pay me on time or if I'm going to have to do an accounts receivable issue. It's just all smoother through our network when we have the account open. So yes, when they call us back, we say, hey, of course, we can give you the contractor's name and number. Happy to do that. We're not going to block you from that. However, the contractor is going to prefer to hear from us anyway. So, we're happy to set your account back up. We put their account on pause if we think they're going to be going back overseas in a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, we do reintroduce the concept even if they closed out thinking they didn't need it.
Got it. So I'm trying to figure out how could this apply to non-military markets, if at all possible. So I'm just spitballing here, but I'm wondering if property managers could present this as an actual product or service to just typical homeowners. Like, hey, we'll handle the vendors, we'll handle maintenance, whatever, and they charge a fee for that. Maybe it's $100 a month or something, but they charge some sort of fee, and we'll take care of all this stuff and handle vendors, and we have the best contractors, and we'll organize and sort this out. I don't know if people go for it, but
actually, I think it's a growing market, and it is happening. A good friend of mine, Lisa Wise, who owns Flock DC, she's trying to build almost a franchise concept, but a series of this very thing where all they do is home management for primary homeowners. Mm-hmm. She's pursuing this market in high urban markets with really busy professionals who just don't know how or don't want to take the time to take care of their own house. And she's got a great program set up for that. Again, we're not doing it on the scale she's pursuing it. We're offering the service as let's build the relationship with the client that we have for rental management before they need us again.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, but yeah, I think there's an opportunity there for the people in the non-military markets to make that maybe a profit center or something. I mean, you cut out the whole tenant side of things, but there's the whole maintenance coordination piece and home management piece, lawn care, grounds, pool.
I'll tell you, I actually think investors would love this, and it might be something we pursue more as we work with investors that'll appreciate this. That is to be able to do not just any expenses related to your personal residence, but to do an analysis. Like, hey, typically for a house your size, you're spending 2x the amount of water on your water bill that you should be, right? When you can start to do some financial analysis within their expenses, instead of just say, oh yeah, like you can pass through your expenses through your account, so it's all in one place, but to add value by saying, this is out of our standard deviation for this expense, or, and again, you can always add value by saying, well, you can call through 5 contractors if you want, but we're buying in bulk as a property manager, and we can get you either better pricing or better value of service.
Yeah, very cool. So what else would you like to share with people about your business that might be beneficial to property managers listening? I mean, you've grown fairly quickly. I think, you have the advantage that you're in that military market where you've got people leaving, which is great. As long as they have awareness, you're going to be adding yours, which I think is really powerful. You focus on trust equity, which I really like that phrase. And what else do you think really kind of sets you apart, makes your company unique from the competitors your market?
Yeah, thanks for the question. You know, that trust equity is a strong theme in our company, and what I do is, it's not just with the contractors or with the clients. You know, we're also building trust with one another on the team, and we call it the Camelot principle. So, yeah, after you've done battle enough on our team as a property manager, we've been through a couple of tough summers. Summers tend to be the hardest time of the year in our market. Then we award that person with a sword with etching on it for Chambers theory, and we welcome them as a knight of the round table. And what we really want to do is we want to build this interdependence of trust with one another as a team. And part of my promise as the employer and the business owner is to keep the job manageable for them, right? Like most of the time as the entrepreneur, like, we're trying to get the most out of our teams so we can get, you know, more profits and grow, and it's healthier. And sometimes it's great. Some of us are, hey, we'll pay our people more, which is a wonderful way to look at it. Yet sometimes people want their job to be more manageable. Like, we can call them to a higher standard, yet we also shouldn't overwhelm or burn out our employees. And it was really telling when we saw the, you know, right after, was it end of 2020, 2021 market, and they call it the Great Resignation, right? There's a lot of people saying, hey, I'm done working. A lot of it had to do with burnout. You know, people are like, life's short. Why am I burning myself out for this or for that? And to really lean in on, how do we build trust with one another? How do I serve my team by making them part of that roundtable of strategic decision making, making them part of that process where we say, hey, we're serving one another as a team. And then we serve our clients, and we build trust equity with our clients and our contractors after we build it with one another. So, you know, I have a high respect for, you know, these different elite teams in the world in any industry. I love the new movie, Top Gun Maverick. They take the top 1% of pilots in the Navy, and they build this elite team. And yet still the part of the theme of the movie was, how do you take these elite individuals and turn them into a gelled team to accomplish a mission? Right. And this is part of what we're trying to do. Is it's about believing in one another to accomplish the mission, not just going for the mission at all costs and burning each other out.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I think one of the big mistakes I've seen, you know, having been able to see inside of probably thousands of property management companies and work with lots and lots of entrepreneurs, is I think it's a common misconception and a common belief that entrepreneurs carry, that their team members want more compensation and that compensation will increase output. And the reason for this is, entrepreneurs, we're money motivated, but most people are not. Entrepreneurs and salespeople typically are the two categories of people that are money motivated. But what I find is, most of our employees, most of our team members, most of the people on the planet are not actually money motivated, in that if you give them bonuses, commissions, incentives, financial incentives, their performance doesn't really get better. So, and you can see this if you give team members a DISC assessment. The more advanced DISC assessments have what's called the values index. And one of those values is the economic score. If the economic score is low, they're not money motivated. And if the economic score is high, they're very money motivated, right? But entrepreneurs usually are money motivated. So they by default think, well, that's what would motivate me, so I'm going to try and inspire them by offering money to get better output, and it backfires. Because if their economic score is low, and say, for example, their charitable score is high, some of them have guilt related to money. So you pay them more, the performance actually goes downhill and they get worse. And so if their economic score is low, here's what you do instead. you give them recognition. They're recognition motivated. So I love the idea that you're giving them a cool sword. You're probably highlighting them in some way in front of the team. Recognition, generally, even by people that are money motivated, is appreciated. So
Yeah,
that's
I learned that one
probably
the hard way. I mean, just hearing you talk about it, I was like, oh yeah, it took me right through the past scenario where it's like, why am I not getting more? I'm paying this person more. And
yeah.
what they really needed was to be taken and given the opportunity to be believed in more. And actually, they wanted more responsibility, not more compensation. They wanted to show that they're capable of more things, and then the compensation piece made more sense. But they almost really felt like they needed to earn it first, which was beautiful. But I tried to do it the other way around, and it didn't work so well.
Yeah. I think it's a lesson everybody that runs a company eventually has to learn. So, and some of us are pretty hard at learning it. But I think the other thing, having a good accountability system in place allows recognition. So our planning cadence at DoorGrow, we call it DoorGrow OS, our operating system, and it allows our executive team members to see what each other got done in the previous week, or for our monthly goals, or for our quarterly goals. And everybody gets to see the wins and gets to see that somebody contributed to the team goals. And a lot of businesses don't even have goals, or it's the business owners pushing a goal onto everybody, and which is very different. So having a really good operating system like that can really make a difference. So
I really like that system. I want to talk to you more about that offline.
yeah, we'll chat. So
one of the things I'd
systems
offer
out there, there's systems out there like EOS and Traction and some of these, but really shameless plug, but DoorGrow OS is better than those systems. Those have some fundamental flaws because they're still an either integrator centric, they're entrepreneur centric, and it's very down, and that's not as effective. Like any business owner that's ever gotten burnout or tired, it's because you're doing too much, and you're probably the biggest bottleneck in your business, and it's because you don't have a good operating system to really leverage your team effectively. So, and most entrepreneurs, we generally are the biggest bottleneck in our business. That's how it works.
It's interesting, as I was going to add, you said, well, what else would I offer property manager and other property managers out there from what I've learned? And, embracing technology. I mean, I can tell you, I researched the heck out of all my competition. I researched the heck out of property managers all over the United States. And I love learning about what are their best practices? What are they doing? How's their model set up? How do they value their company? Are they doing this new client retention thing? All these different, I love all the best practices and learning from it. But I almost always see, we utilize technology. And I'm so curious. And then, sometimes when I dig deeper, it's like, well, we use digital picture. We send our clients digital pictures. Like, digital pictures isn't new technology. That was new technology 20 years ago. Or, our accounting platform, says they're the latest in technology. And there's a lot of different platforms out there. And man,
Right.
when some of these things came out, they were great platforms for being the latest and greatest at being more efficient in organizing your business. But to say we utilize technology because you have email or a mobile phone, smartphone, or a platform that came out 10 years ago, it's got some updates since. I'm interested in the DoorGrow operating system because you guys are leading edge in how to use that to make my business more efficient and grow, not because it was something you came up with 10 years ago and you've made a couple updates since. I'm fascinated by being an early adapter in new tech, not claiming I've got tech because I use email.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of property managers that feel like, hey, I used to doing spreadsheets and now I have AppFolio or Buildium. So like we're high tech, right? So
right.
We have a tenant.
I've got a website.
We have a website now. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm probably more tech savvy and geeky than most people on the planet. But yeah, we're doing some really cool things at DoorGrow that we really feel like add some serious value to the industry. I think two two of the most challenging systems for our clients once we get them growing that they need, that we've built out, is a really good planning system, have project management or task management system, which like Asana or some sort of, checklist.com or some sort of system to assign tasks. But that's tactical work. They don't have anything related to strategic planning. And some have EOS, but there's some fundamental flaws with EOS. But the company that puts out the idea of EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, their goal is to sell coaches for that system, which they call integrators. And so they create this org chart in which you have the visionary, which is you, usually, the entrepreneur, and then they have the integrator, and then they have the entire team. Fundamental flaw in that is if you have somebody that could run your entire business like that, and you're once removed from it, they could walk away with your business. And that's not really a safe place to be. And that's not really how anybody actually does it. And then, so you need a planning system though. And EOS, DoorGrow OS, most systems out there will have annual planning, quarterly, monthly planning, maybe weekly, maybe some sort of daily things, but that's pretty typical of any business planning system. But you do need a business planning system. The other system that every business needs is a really good hiring system. So we just partner with an AI firm for hiring. That's really because our clients always screw this up. Like it's hard. Hiring is hard. One of the hardest transitions I see entrepreneurs go through is solopreneur to having a team. And this is the transition from maybe about 100 doors into up to in that 200 to 400 door range. And usually they build the wrong team around the wrong business owner doing the wrong things to where the business owner gets maximum lack of fulfillment and misery and being the biggest bottleneck. And so really our entire system is built around the entrepreneur, like identifying what they most enjoy and don't enjoy doing, building the team around them, and building the plan communication system around them, and then build a hiring system to bring in the right team members that you actually can trust. Trust equity can only exist if there's culture in a business. And culture can only exist if it's defined so that you can bring in people that can look at that cultural material and say, hell yes, I want to be part of this. Whereas some people might just want a paycheck. And there's a massive difference in output. Your team members, it sounds like you have good culture. And so you're probably getting 3 times the output of companies that have bad culture. And by bad culture, I mean, they hired team members just based on what the business needs. It's based on skill. And so they have people that are maybe a skill fit, they can do the work, but they're not the personality fit for the role, which means they'll never be great at it, or they're not the most important cultural fit for the role, which means they actually share your values and you can trust them and let go of pieces of the business. So if you have team members, anyone listening, team members you don't trust, but they can do the job, but they're always coming to you asking questions, you're always having to micromanage them, it's because you lack culture in your business. And you need to get that defined.
I hope when you can't just have it, right? It's a continual build. It's just like trust equity. Like it's a continue to work on, continue to define, continue to build. I would define our culture as that Camelot culture, Camelot principle, which is the heart of it is the saying, in service to one another, there is freedom.
Love it. So yeah, service is one of your top cultural values. I love that. We have one at DoorGrow. Ours is we call care, ROI, like care. And similar to your trust equity, like we want to let people know that we care. And if we invest care into people, then, we're going to get a return on that investment. So yeah. Well, Tommy, it's been great connecting with you and chatting about it. Sounds like you got some great things going on in your business. It sounds like you found some cool little ways to facilitate and decrease churn. Appreciate you coming on the show and looking forward to connecting more in the future.
Yeah, Jason, looking forward to also following up with you and chatting, talking shop more about how you can help us grow.
Absolutely. All right.
Cheers.
Until next time, everybody, if you're curious about how to grow or scale your property management business, you're curious about DoorGrow OS or some of the things we mentioned on the show, or how to identify culture, or you're just starting to experience that burnout as a visionary and you don't feel like the visionary anymore, you feel like your best employee, which sucks. We would love to help you get out of that. We have processes to take you through to systematically help you offload, help you feel safe offloading, and helping you have great people to offload to that are actually better at those things you don't enjoy than you are. I know a lot of entrepreneurs listening. If you haven't experienced that, you're like, no, nobody's better than me. Believe me, it's an ego thing. We can kill that real fast. So reach out. We'd love to support you. Check us out at doorgrow.com. Until next time, to our mutual growth. Bye, everyone.